back to another episode of the On the Wagon podcast, a sobriety podcast with a shot of comedy. Before we get into our interview with Chad today, just wanted to let everybody know that this podcast, as well as my other podcast, This is D-Span, did make the local Northeast Wisconsin podcast list, so go ahead and check that out on my social media. There's some other cool local podcasts as well on there. Feel free to subscribe and download all the old podcasts for the On the Wagon. We are on iTunes, so that's going to be your best place to find that one. But we also do have a YouTube page that they are released on for This is D-Span. That is more of a video pod series, so that is going to be on my Facebook page. Go ahead and get onto that and like that page, as well as a YouTube page where you can listen to all or look and listen to all of our old podcasts. So let's get into the interview here with Chad. It's going to be an excellent and a fun podcast. All right, we got Chad on the line here. Chad, how are we doing today, buddy?
I am doing great. Like I said prior to this, we have 6 cups of coffee. I did a specialty. I picked up Death Wish coffee, so we are all wound up, ready to go.
So it's pretty cool how me and Chad met. So for those of you who don't know, AJ Armstrong and I took over the Young Entrepreneurs Facebook group in Wisconsin. So listeners, if you're not on it and you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner or just a part of the community, go ahead and get added to that. But I met Chad right away on Saturday and got to know a little bit about him and found out that his recovery time is pretty close to where I'm at for sobriety. So we got into talking, and all of a sudden the story started flowing. I said, we got to get this man on the podcast.
Especially, man, yeah, my life's unconventional, we'll just say it that way.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Chad starts telling me some stories, and then I'm like thinking about my stories. I'm like, wow, like they're very similar, but Chad's got some really good ones, and he kind of started his drinking way earlier than I did. So let's get a little bit to know you, Chad. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, growing up and where you came from, and we'll kind of roll with it.
Yeah, I grew up here in Menasha. We can kind of joke around. Everyone's got a little,
Matrasha? Matrasha?
Wonderful town, man. It's just, I'm the 3rd generation that went through the high school here, so ended up growing up on the east side of Menasha, so pretty much out towards this City Hall, Clovis, southeastern side, Jefferson Park, down in that area. Had the luxury of going to Clovis Grove. Growing up, obviously I'm a hyperactive boy, so we did have some issues growing up with some teachers. With that, obviously, my mom, got letters saying that I would go run in the boys' bathroom and start screaming and saying that I'm, too busy to contain in the classroom. So back in the day, we would call that being just busy. Now there's actually a non-label for that. But, so growing up with Clovis, obviously went through Maplewood. The system here in Menasha is, you go to your local 5-6 elementaries, you go to one middle school, and then you end up in high school. So a lot of the stories and stuff actually started kicking in here 8th grade to probably now, obviously. But when you would roll into it, the bulk of the stories actually came from like 13 to now, or 13 to 23, and then kind of quiet, and then regained some stories now the last couple of years here. So with it, a lot of fun came at that high school. Now it's kind of going backwards. I mean, they had a great, good addition onto it, but it was kind of more old school ghetto is what we would call it. It's a beautiful school, beautiful how old it is. It's like 80 to 100 years old. But we would always have fun there. So like we would always have the group of friends would always be pretty much in the same class. I was a 3.0 student, 3.2, somewhere in there. Obviously, just like every guy and girl in high school, if you're hyperactive, you're going to have, a boatload of shop class on your degrees or on your class schedules. So I would throw in things like theater, throw in things like gym. That's pretty simple, easy A type stuff. Shop class, obviously, and then some of the English goofy classes. My learning style is a little bit different than like typical. So I have a bunch of friends that are very, very smart, very wealthy, very good at systematic stuff. I was the one that would go out and go fall on my face, pick myself back up, go fall on my face. So their learning style is more of a book. Mine is just go break stuff and more visual type stuff. So when it came to classes and we came to learning about, this is a story that's not even on my list here, learning about some of the Shakespeare stuff, the bulk of my friends, we would sit there in the class and end up just busting out laughing, and the teacher would kick us out and go in the hallway for like 20 minutes. So here we're in the hallway running up and down the hallways, but obviously we're supposed to be attention, but just making stupid random comments, just making a light of something. Shakespeare's great. A lot of people love it. You got to have some fun with it. And this was the same class where we had a dude sitting up front. Teacher was sitting in the chair, and he had boxers on with no support, so you could just hear, the tools being delivered. We'll just keep it clean like that. So he would go up front and just start swaying away while the teacher's staring at the computer, and we're all busting out laughing. So this teacher was an amazing teacher. She let us be freedom, give us freedom, let us be ourselves. She was also our cross-country coach, so we had a very deep connection. We weren't really the troubling kind that would disrupt the class. We were more just a bunch of comedians in the class, make light of something that's serious and have a lot of fun with it. So, left there, make sure short. Left there, went to Fox Valley Tech. My passion from little on has always been being on the farming community. So I'm actually a city boy that converted over to the farming, love for the farming, love for the agribusiness. So I went and got my 2-year degree. Fox Valley Tech is a phenomenal school. So if anybody is looking to get into it, it is an amazing school. Ended up being, at that time, I was doing tournament fishing. So I transferred out to be an agricultural teacher, not because of the teaching part. I wanted the summers off. But at that time was about 2006, 2007. So what was happening was the economy was kind of tilting a little bit, kind of going, spiraling a little bit. Went up into college, and that's when all hell broke loose. So went in there for the first semester or two. Found out, the number one thing I learned from my teacher up there, found out that when you're an agribusiness teacher, you don't have the at the time, you don't have the freedom to, teach business, teach stuff that we're learning in the venture group, the freedom to go online, the social media, all that, business wrapped in one.
Right.
They give you a checklist to say, hey, dude, this is what you're going to teach, this is how you're going to teach it, this is what we want, curriculum and all that. When obviously I like structure, it keeps me focused because I have a lack of it a lot of times. But when I don't have that freedom, I found out at the time that it was not going to be fun. So I actually transferred into ag studies, finished my degree, and ended up staying out in western Wisconsin from 2006 to 2017. Life event, we'll just highlight that for a different story. Actually brought me back here in late 2017. So I've been home here for, almost 2.5 years. The fun did transfer with me. So it's been a blast returning to the Valley because 2006 to 2008, the Valley was kind of, that early 2000s, the Valley was kind of shifting to a different economy. So a lot of them now coming back. There's a lot of small mom and pops, a lot of explosion of young entrepreneurs, all tiny shops downtown. So it's actually flourishing now versus kind of how it was at the time back in the day. So I'm enjoying being home. There's a lot of in between, so a lot of that journey now. A lot of these stories are kind of intertwined. But yeah, definitely a fun journey. It's unconventional because Highway 29, if anyone's driven on it, it is the most boring ass highway you can drive on. So
that's horrible.
You could blink, dude, and you won't even move for 100
horrible.
miles. Yeah. But that's a short case of it. I don't want to put anybody to sleep on how the whole journey can.
No, it's good to know where you came from. That you grew up here in the valley. You went out of your way for a bit, but you found your way back to the valley. I think that's a good background story on you.
Yeah, and the biggest thing over in, obviously it's western Wisconsin, so I'm just going to label Eau Claire because it was towns surrounding it is where I lived for a while, some suburbs of it. Eau Claire is a phenomenal, beautiful town if you're from that area. And I'm going to say town because it's, 40, 50,000 versus, 500,000 million in this area. The thing about it is, though, is if you want any entertainment, so like concerts, the flourishing, all that stuff, you almost have to drive to the city. So for me, I was missing the Friday nights, which are going to go into the stories here, the bands, I'm not a farmer's market guy, but more the entertainment side. So like the fishing, the hunting, the sportsmen, all that fun packers. I mean, you could go list on how to entertain yourself here. So that's what I missed big time. And even though I was over there about 4 or 5 years into it, I was just starting to, get homesick.
Right.
And wanted to eventually return back anyways. I just had that gift accelerated a little bit faster than normal, but of it, I'm back, I'm flourishing, I'm having a ball doing this.
Yeah, it's awesome that you're back because I think you hit it right on the head. I think the valley is going to explode here as well. Not just like you said with young entrepreneurs and with some small business startups and tech startups too. Like we met a few tech startup people at our event on Saturday. So I think it's good that you let our listeners know that the valley is coming into gear. But I guess I gotta tell you, because this is a drinking podcast, when did the drinking start for you?
Officially, when I started doing it was 13. Officially, and mind you, okay, my parents are loving, and I'm going to put this disclaimer out here. Drinking in Northeast Wisconsin is pretty much like hockey in Canada. All right, so we started. Yes. I don't want to say we started early. It's around us from day one, and it's almost like you're groomed into it. So, so disclaimer there, guys. Okay, my mom did not officially do it. It just happened. Okay, I'm 34 years old. 80s were a different time. So when it comes to that, my first official drink was probably when I was teething to like 2 years old. I know the first story was we were in Appleton living when I was little. Not to get in depth why, but when it came to it, my mom did not want to walk back to the house, so she gave me like a little Zima type thing, and I don't remember what it was called back in the day. Ended up having that 2-3 years old. That's where I started, and I waddled back to the house. So of it though, like where my drinking started kicking in, I was going to say I was about 13 years old, where I would officially, my choice, grab that drink and start making term grandpa drink is what we would call it.
Yeah, it's I was going after we talked on Saturday too. I was trying to think. I didn't start drinking until like my senior year of high school. But I bet you had my first drink. I remember back when I was younger, if you had like an upset stomach, I remember my mom pouring like a little bit of brandy and 7-Up or Sprite together and pounding that. So yeah,
I probably have brandy written all over my teeth when I was teething. So
yeah, that's just funny when you go back and think about it. And like you said with your parents, my parents are very loving parents too. My parents never really drank much in the house or at all really until actually I was over 21. Then I saw my parents drink more. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how when you go back and think about that first drink. But I think you hit it on the head too. Northeast Wisconsin is just crazy. Like I think if you're not from here, it's incredible that drinking is just like a nonchalant thing. Even when I go out to Vegas once a year and we would get wrecked for 5 days, the bartenders knew that we were from the Midwest just by how we were drinking. It's just insane how we have that platform here.
Yeah, and I actually have family and friends that are in Colorado, and they call them Wisconsin bars or West. Here we're West.
Yeah.
But out there, Wisconsin bars. You guys just take it with you type stuff. So they actually have it like a nationwide label. our issue or our, social event or whatever they want to call it, label it as. But yeah, we're known nationwide as the state that can entertain a bar.
Yeah, that's true. And when you have bars that are being built out of houses, like the ones that is literally right across the street from my house, it's pretty crazy that how that happens. But why don't we get into it? Why don't we get into one of your some of your stories here and see where we go from there? Because I'm sure I'm going to have numerous questions as you go. So wherever you want to start, it's totally on you.
All right, so I'm going to tell everyone straight out, just hold the car still because they're going to be all over the place. But there's a point to every one of these here. So
yep.
I'm going to hit you guys with about 6 or 7 good ones, kind of merge them together. Try to keep it in a timeline just for my sake because I have
good idea
issues to begin with. So we're going to start out with a younger one here. So back in the day, we have friends that were up north near Crivets area. I'm not going to disclose any names because we'll just keep them off here, but we would actually go up there and have a blast. So, like, we would go up there during the winter. We would take the three-wheeler. We would have a tow strap. We would actually go three-wheeling down the road with a tow strap, or actually skiing strap with inflatable tube in the back. So we'd actually act like we're skiing on the water going down the road here, but that's kind of the environment that we'd have. They would have like an undercover type Halloween trail where you would just go nuts with people and just scare the hell out of them. But they were all comedians. So the biggest thing with that one is we would all get around like a big bonfire and start drinking beer, have them drinking beer, just watch the parents entertain, watch us entertain, whatever it was. One day, there's a business owner down in Oshkosh that has a lake house across the lake. Well, it's a well-known business too, but we'll keep it quiet. They're very hoots. So we would back in the day make potato guns. And I'm not talking like little 3-foot potato guns that would just go pop. Like, we're talking potato guns that would shoot over like a quarter-mile type stuff. So we don't do anything small here in this house. When we build something, it's built strong, and it's for entertaining purposes. So we would get so messed up, and out comes my stepfather, busting up potatoes, taking potatoes, shooting it straight in the air. So he'd be sitting there and be like, ha, 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 check this out. Poof. Straight in the air. And then all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, here's the rig, which would be like on a shotgun shell, it'd be the rig, and then you're loading back. So we would have the rig drop, and it'd be like, who's going to hit? Who's going to hit? Who's going to hit? Boom! Shit, I missed us. So they go load back up, take a raw egg, shoot it up in the air again. And then it would just scatter like BB gun type stuff. But this story was even funny because we wanted to figure out how far this thing would go. And here we're at about 10 o'clock at night trying to launch potato guns towards this business owner's house. So we're just launching it. We're like, oh, we didn't hear it hit on the lake. Mind you, we're a quarter mile away. We didn't hear it hit on the lake.
Now, did you know
who in the family?
Oh, sorry. Did you know who this business owner was at the time, or did you just know that this was a massive house on the lake, or did you kind of have an inkling of who this was?
We knew.
All right, sorry. Go ahead.
He would come over. Him and his family would come over all the time.
Oh, okay.
And if anyone that knows him personally, I don't know him personally quite yet. I know of him. I've been around him. I know some buddies that know his son. They're a wild bunch of people. They're phenomenal people, but they're a wild bunch of people. They're so entertaining when you're around. They would actually come over, and we would actually have a bonfire, and they would take a dirt bike over the bonfire. Like, he would be like, hey, check this out. Go over the bonfire. So we were sitting here trying to launch potatoes, and either my stepdad, his friend, whoever it was, had the brightest idea to throw a damn golf ball in the gun. So we're sitting there having like 4 or 5 straight golf ball in the potato gun. All of a sudden, you're poof. And in the distance, at like 10 o'clock at night, you hear poosh in the lake. We're like, oh, almost close enough. Load it again. Poof. Fire it up. So we're trying to like cross this lake, get in the business owner's house. We're not doing it on purpose. It's just the business owner would take his kids with their test, vehicles that they have, all-terrain vehicles, And they would drive around the lake, go through the place we're staying at, start kicking up dirt, go back. So it was more like two families that were just like pretty much rubbing each other in the same level of being funny.
Right.
For good. But yeah, no, the potato gun gave me about 10 years worth of memories, man. I remember, breaking it, and it was like all hell broke loose. I was like, oh, you broke the potato gun. Well, make new memories, buddy. But yeah, no, we would literally take raw eggs, chunks of potatoes, whatever it is, go sit by a bonfire at like midnight, shoot it up in the air, and then be like, sit there like your arms crossed with the hat on, going, who the hell's gonna hit? Who the hell's gonna hit? And then you're like, oh, missed stuff, and then load it back up again. Mind you, there was a lot of beer involved with that one, and a lot of bar stops involved with that one. So I was probably in middle school at the time when that was occurring. Awesome people, but that's just the bulk of the story. So that was family related stuff. And then mine started kicking in probably 16 years old all the way up and through college. So that's a family related one. In high school, I actually started, metal music is actually, I grew up with 80s rock, like the AC/DC, 70s, Zeppelin, all that stuff. So, right. My mom's not a country fan. My stepdad's not a country fan. Nothing against country. It's just, my mom grew up with everyone in her music, or in her family. She's the only daughter of 4 brothers, so they were all playing music, all drumming. They're all involved with, like, hearing things like Zeppelin, Rush, all that stuff. So she grew up with all that music right away. Obviously, my sister and I had the blessing to have that thrown in our life. So for us in high school, I'm a little bit older than some people here, so I graduated in 04. So, like, 2001 to 2004 was the big kick of, like, the Limp Bizkit, the Slipknots, the Disturbs, the Linkin Parks, that rock rap mix, or like that next wave of metal kicking in. So we ended up, growing up, we had this white Chevy Astro van, the old boxed one back in the day. It was a freaking tank. So it had like 200,000 miles on it. The thing would like wobble like you're going down on two wheels. So all of a sudden I get tickets to go to a Disturbed concert with all my buddies. We're like 16 years old. And they labeled this concert as the Rockers and the Rednecks.
Oh,
so,
boy.
Like, in the Brown County Arena,
oh man,
was the Disturbed concert, directly across the parking lot. And mind you guys, anyone that hasn't been there, if we're out of Wisconsin here, you can literally throw a tennis ball and hit the other place. The other side was Gretchen Wilson and Kenny Chesney. So we had two completely opposite ends of people here. So we're driving up the highway. I had this rule here from my stepdad: do not go more than 60. Well, me being me, set her at about 74. Going up the highway here, and all of a sudden this van starts driving right next to us. And these two dudes in the front started waving at us. It's like, slow down, slow down. I'm like, all right, cool, so we slow down. All of a sudden, the side door opens. And here's this dude giving us the full moon going down. We're literally on the curb by like a Kana. Gave us the full moon. And this dude in the front chair reaches around, starts slapping him on the highway. We're going wide open. Just starts slapping him. And we're busting out laughing. All of a sudden, my buddy's like, we got to do this. So they go in the slow lane. We go speed up on the passenger side. Here's my buddy. Opened the door, started doing the same thing. Slammed the door shut. Rotated again. And it was just more of just the whole collaboration of just both just going back and forth, like people mooning each other. That was actually me being clean. But
oh, so you guys weren't drinking at this time?
We were not drinking.
Wow.
So this tells you how our personalities are if you get a group of friends together. So now add alcohol on top of that.
Right.
But the bulk of mine actually came when I was at River Falls. And some of you here don't know it as MooU, but we call it MooU, which means back in the day it was the egg school, and you go learn about cows. So up there, I like to have fun. I would get plenty wasted. First year here, I would get so drunk that I would actually drink a half bottle of whiskey a night, crawl up in the bed, and feel like you're in the ocean. So that occurred pretty much for like the first 2 years. So now add in a kid that obviously does not know himself yet and doesn't know his inner strength, all the positives of being sober. Now add in the instigators from the hockey team. So one night, the hockey team each year has a day that they can just go all out. The cops do not bug them. The coaches do not bug them. I think it's called Ritz Fest. Don't quote me on this.
Okay.
But what it is they go through the whole year, and they can drink on the weekends, but they can't, do weed. They can't drink all that. They have to stay clean, quotations, all the way through the year until the season ends. And then the first weekend of May is called Ritz Fest, which means all the boys get so pissed off that they get clean. The next weekend's like the big, long binge. And what happens is all the bars downtown River Falls actually starts bringing in stuff like mechanical bulls, not pole dancers, but like it's more of an entertainment side.
Right.
So here we go to this bar. I couldn't even tell you what name it is now. All I know is in River Falls you have a main street, you have a grocery store, and it's the first bar on the left. That's all I can tell you. It was like a sports bar type stuff. They bring in this mechanical bull in the back bar part. So all those hockey teams are here with all the girls and everyone kind of trying to one-up each other. And my name got brought up. So here I was already half-wasted on whiskey, drinking shots also at the bar with all the boys. And they're all topping, going on the bull, riding for 8 seconds, all that stuff. Obviously, me being a comedian, that day I wore Family Guy boxers. So I had Big Stewie on me going already. So my drunk mind came to, how the hell am I going to one-up all this stuff? So all of a sudden, my name gets drawn. They're like, hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I unzip my pants, rip off my T-shirt, go all the way down to the ground, jump on the bull just with boxers on, half-ass freaking boxers half down to my you-know-what, go around for 4 seconds, get whipped out, and someone forgot to tell me I was missing a button in front of the boxers. So here, Mr. Stewie was smiling, and I get back up, and obviously any guys that wear boxers, you have buttons in the front, so that was kind of wide open.
So
here I was walking at the bars with the front end of my boxers wide open, half-ass naked, drunk on whiskey.
So at this, just trying to get a little more feel for this hockey, like this experience. So was this at night that did you guys drink all day before getting to there, or did you just start pounding drinks at the bar at like, let's say 7 o'clock?
This was about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Ritz Fest started at 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, so this was a all day type of binge thing, right?
Yeah. What would happen is all the hockey boys would take all their couches, throw them in the yard, almost Animal House type. So
right.
you guys seen the movie Animal House. They would have 2 kids in the house. You'd give them whatever, $5 for beef flight or whatever it was. So you started drinking there. Obviously, I brought my whiskey there, so I was drinking whiskey and beer all through the day, all through the night. And I think I passed out at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, that's pretty good
so
that you made it all day.
It was a full, damn near 20-hour binge for all of us that were involved with that.
Yeah. So did you get tossed out of this bar then, or what?
No, they kept us going.
So you got to just.
That one is.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. The rules with that one is when it came to Ritz Fest, the cops know what we were doing, but one of the coaches had a hands-off approach. They would kind of check in on us for like every couple hours. But when it came to like 10 o'clock, we all knew everyone was sleeping, so that's when all hell broke loose.
Right. So when you got kicked off this bull, you were just in your boxers. Did you just leave your clothes off for some time and just go get another shot, or did they make you say, "Hey, buddy, you got to put your jeans and shirt back on"?
Oh, I definitely put my jeans and shirt back on. I mean, I'm gonna, joke aside on this one, dude. I'm 5'9", 170. I'm as normal as they're gonna get, so I didn't need any more help. I wanted to tuck that stuff away.
Nah, I think that then, and this was kind of the story where inkling on Saturday. I just thought that this was hilarious, but I didn't know the backside of the story of the all-day bingers. I mean, we had so many all-day bingers in college, so it's just nice that other parts of the state and universities have do that as well. We used to throw our couches, throw our chairs out in the front yard, play beer pong, play beer ball was one of their other games. So excellent story on that. And we would always hit the bar so wasted at like 6 o'clock at night, and then we just, like, I was like you, like I would make it till freaking 2:30 every morning. It was just crazy.
Wake back up at 10 o'clock, Saturday afternoon, Sunday, whatever it is, kind of just groggy, and then, get through a couple hours and then start back up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep, exactly.
Drink all through the night, and then try to behave on Monday.
Exactly. So now when you were up at River Falls and you were drinking, a half thing of whiskey a night, were you making it to classes pretty regularly or not?
Yes, but the late ones I was having help.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously we were talking about, I would do the 8 a.m.s were kind of tough. So like I would start at like 10 o'clock,
yep.
Go all the way to about 3 or 4, 3 o'clock. I think the last class was 5:30 or 7, depends on what it was. So if I had a break where it was like 4 o'clock and I had 3 hours, dude, I would start hitting the whiskey already at like 4 o'clock. And when it came to like 7 o'clock, I know there's, from my previous relationship, her brother-in-law ended up being my mentor because I would fail out. And he would say, dude, you would show up to class hammered.
Right.
So like I would walk through the door and you could smell the whiskey on me within 5 seconds. So my 7 o'clock classes, there was a occurrence where I would get like F's on a lot of classes.
Right.
So they ended up being like the 5s to 7s because I was feeling really, really well already by the time I came in there. There was tests, I don't know how the hell I passed, but I passed.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and for me, it was always like down here in Oshkosh, they always had like Wednesday nights at one bar was ladies' night. So like it was $10 all you could drink for the guys, but then it was free for the girls. So that was always party. Then Thursday night there would be another bar that would run like dollar beer night. We'd go there. So there was so many times I remember like getting home at like 2 a.m, emailing my professor at 2:30 in the morning, say I don't feel very well. It's like, why didn't they, like, obviously they know I was out that late. It's just so stupid that I did it that way. I should have scheduled the email to send at like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. so it looked a little more real.
Yeah, and the thing that people don't realize here, and we had 2 fraternities up there, and they actually kind of reverse roles now lately. One of the fraternities actually had a stripper pole in the basement. Wow. So when it came to late night parties late in the season, we actually had a few people in the cities that would come in that would dance during the weekends, turn around and go to school. So they were in our class. Somehow the word got relayed to the fraternities. Well, they would actually bring them in and hear all the farm boys, all the hockey boys, all them would go collaborate in the basement of this house with these stripper pole underneath the stairs, just going to town. They would have a band playing in the side, and then you turn around and here's a stripper pole just standing and the girls just going nuts. And then ended up being they needed money for the boys' side of it because there was a girls' side and a boys' side of the frat. They would actually start taking pictures, like 3 or 4 of these girls would do a photo shoot. Obviously, they're covered up, and then they would sell these calendars throughout the year. So, like, you would get the same girl going multiple parties. No one knew what was going on, but here she would be modeling, she'd be dancing, all that fun stuff, making 6 digits a year going to college. But I don't know about Oshkosh, but I know kind of seeing that experience, it was kind of cool, but I lived a rock star my attitude in college was a rock star. So I wanted to be like Motley Crue. I wanted to be like, Metallica, all those bands where it's like you would get the chicks, you would just go party hard, try to find the chicks, try to, maintain that darkish attitude, that rebel attitude. So
right.
Anything that involved around partying for me, I was just straight. I went into it with that rock star attitude where it's like, let's go live at large.
Yeah, that's what I turned into, especially once I turned 21 to like 24. Like that was my life, like being at the social bars, not the dive bars where you're just sitting there by yourself, which eventually ended up being for me. But like I would drink at home, but I would end up at a bar later that night because I did like that social interaction with people. So definitely on the same type of page as you.
I know blatantly, and I do remember these two memories, and I don't know if I remember doing this because it rolled into my winter break is what we would call it. For me, I do remember, I think I told you this, I do remember blatantly turning 21 or 22, me calling in, it was 21. I was calling in sick for my class for Wednesday.
Right.
We had the hockey boys buying, either I bought it, they bought it, whoever we got it. We had 2 bottles of Crown, and I had 3 bottles of Canadian Mist. By the end of that week, all 5 bottles were gone.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
We were drinking shots to Roxanne. We'd pass the Crown Royal around. Every time he would say Roxanne, we'd start popping the shots. So here within 20 minutes, we had the whole bottle gone. Just 3 of us. And that was a binging week. But I think out of the time frame, and if you relay it now, it's kind of how I went first full circle here prior getting clean. It was to the point where I was drinking 18, in 14 weeks, I think I had 18 or 19 bottles of whiskey gone. Just popping whiskey left and right.
Right.
And it wasn't even mixing. Dude, I would have that 24-ounce dollar bottle from Walmart. I didn't add ice in there because in college you have to go find it.
Exactly.
So I would have half that 24 ounces, so about 12 ounces worth of whiskey, and then the rest was soda. By the end of the night, it was 3/4 whiskey and half a soda, whatever. So at that time, dude, my liver would get so sore, I would just lay in bed and almost feel like you're just falling into the bed because you were so hammered.
Right.
I wasn't throwing up or anything. It would just like you just fall into it. It's just like you're just laying in the ocean, just kind of feeling, the waves kicking in. But yeah, that's the world spinning instead of, actually being on the waves.
Right. Yeah, I never got sick either drinking that. A few times I'm sure I did, but just recently, probably the last 4 or 5 years, I'd get sick the next day, which never happened in college. Like ever. I never but just as recently as we get older, I'm 32, so pretty close to you. Like I would always get sick the next morning if I was out on a bender.
Yeah, no, and I would, being recently, I was figuring out why it was occurring, but at that time, I would be cloudy till about 8, I would say 9:30. I think I slept from 2 till, 8 o'clock or whatever it was, or 2 to 10 or whatever.
Yep.
So that first 2 hours, I'd be super cloudy, kind of groggy, and then after that, I'd be roaring, ready to go. I would pop a timeout, too, back in the day. Obviously, I was 40 pounds overweight, so you can name whatever I got my hands on, the rock stars, whatever it was, to wake myself back up and then, get ready to roll and ride that caffeine ride all the way through the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So you leave River Falls, or do you have another River Falls story? Or do you? I'm sure you have River Falls stories, but I don't know what your timeline is, because I don't know if you want to start getting into some of your stories of when you've came back to the valley, or do you have some things in between then?
Well, we got an in-between one, and then I got a couple here, for sure, 2 of them here back in the valley. So
okay.
The in-between one was actually in, I think 2017, 2016. My buddy actually, I have a lot of friends over there that are in the farming community, so they raise heifers, which would be female cows, the younger versions. The other one has a 5,000 cow dairy. Like I said, they're all phenomenal people. One pretty much saved my life when it came around cleaning up.
Right. And
the other one was, still very good friends to this day. So the one with the 5,000 cow dairy, actually, one of his sister ended up marrying this one good friend of his. So all of a sudden I get a phone call. It's like, dude, are you going to his bachelor party? I said, yeah, sure. He's like, show up at this time. Well, I didn't know who was all invited. I know it would be me, 3 of us for sure. All of a sudden, this party bus shows up. And I walk up the thing, and I turn, and here's half the Hispanic help involved. All of a sudden, you hear, hey, pretty boy, tequila. So by the time you're back, you already had 1 or 2 tequila shots. So we made the rounds, obviously, bachelor party.
Yep.
Strippers got involved, whatever it was. The thing in western Wisconsin, they're not really well known, and they're not very good. So we ended up driving to Neilsville, which would be this back of the hole-in-wall place. Did the fair share, drop current and, sticky type. You don't want to touch anything type. Well, the last stop was in Stanley, and some of you guys that go to Eau Claire understand it used to be called Chubby's. Now it's called Up North something, whatever. I haven't been up there in 3 years, so it might have changed another name. But ended up being, I was in the back of the bus. Everyone was kind of walking out. I was trying to sober up because I knew I had to drive home that night. Well, that driving home part didn't end up happening because it started drinking at that same place again. But on the way out, my buddy came up to me. He goes, "Hey, dude, go distract my future brother-in-law." He goes, "I got a surprise for him." All right, cool. So I go sit there. I pull him away, and his future brother-in-law is behind me talking to the sound guy at the strip joint. All of a sudden, he comes up. He's like, "All right, dude, 5 more minutes. We're good to go. Let him go." I'm like, "All right, cool." So 5 minutes came. My buddy didn't even know this was going to occur. All of a sudden, 3-4 girls grabbed him and said, "Hey, it's your turn. Let's go." So they drag him up on the dance floor. And some of you guys probably know some places around here do this, but 2 of the girls actually took both of his legs, slid him into the pole, like jammed him into the pole. So he was already hurt on that one. And all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, he's getting married. Congratulations, blah, 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 blah." All of a sudden this girl started spinning up the pole all the way to the top of the wall. And it's like an 8-foot drop. Curled all the way up, hit the ceiling, and then she's like, "Hey, congratulations, let's go." So her butt's facing, his crotch is facing the pole with his legs on the other side. She spun, and her back's facing him. She lets go, slams on top of his stomach, like literally, you could drop a pin in the bottom. Boom! And everyone's just like, "Oh!" Gets back up. He had the biggest red stain on his stomach. And then my buddy just sits there just whistling. He's like, "Ain't that funny?" So that's one of the funnier ones on the other side of here. Now when I moved back, obviously to full circle this here. Obviously I'm going to use the term disruption in life. So some people get married early and they make it successful. They make it throughout the full time. Obviously mine ended early. I won't get in details why. That's going to be a different episode. But I had that opportunity to come back home here late 2017 and start over here. There were some feathers and stuff that was ruffling in there. The whole details behind it actually caused me to spiral again. It was a little dirtier than what I expected, not on my end, but stuff that caused it. So here I came back, and I was so stressed out, dude. I was 150 pounds, and I was sticking bones, everything. So me, being me, says, "Hey, by the way, easiest way to gain weight. Drink beer, drink booze, and drink pizza." So I would go on these pizza beer binges for like 3 months, not gaining weight. Yeah. So until I hit April or May, the weight started hitting. Well, that's 5 months of tolerance.
Yep.
So I ended up building up my tolerance. Got sick of beer the last year and a half. Quit beer. Shook for like a week. End up grabbing Tito's. Well, because I'm like, hey, I'm kind of in shape. Tito's is healthy. All that fun stuff. Well, the thing with me with booze is with beer, you can kind of stop and you're full. But with the booze, you keep going. Well, that's good and bad. The good part is, the more I would get going, the more the Robin Williams would come out of my head. So I would get these random freaking ideas, and I would just run with them. And ended up being, just stupid stuff. But the funnier part started kicking in, right when I got into dating. So I'm like, you know what? It's been 3-4 months. Let's get back to the scene.
Right.
So I ended up, like everybody, we have a Tinder story.
Yeah.
My Tinder story involves, where I'm actually going to be moving here in a couple of months, involves Green Bay. Some of you guys don't know this, some of you guys do, but trust me, to a T, this happened 100%. I am not lying. So Tuesday night, it was a Tuesday night in March of 18-ish. I think I literally just jumped on Tinder that Monday. Tuesday hit, this one girl says, hey, come on up, let's do bowling, whatever. So I drove up to Schwabenon Bowl, alleys, bowling lanes, whatever they call it.
Yep.
And Tuesday night, it's, you bowl for $5 or $10, and then you get all you can drink, or, their beer, or $2, whatever the situation was. Well, 1 comes 2, comes 3, comes 4, and it's about 9 o'clock. My gut feeling when I left home here is I knew I wouldn't be returning. It's not I could sober up and return. I just had a feeling that it was going to be a long, wild night, and it ended up being a long, wild night.
Yeah.
9 o'clock came. I'm like, all right, I got to work the next morning. I got to wake up at 5 o'clock, return to work, and kind of going. And I looked at the girl straight in the eye. I know her name to this day, but we'll just keep it quiet.
Right.
She goes, I looked at her blatantly and said, if you buy me one more drink, I'm going to be staying at your couch. Well, that was the green light she wanted. She went back, 2 rounds, came up to me, she goes, ain't that the point? I'm like, okay, well, lights on, let's go. So all of a sudden the fun started kicking in, and we left there at about midnight. Well, I'm not driving. Obviously, she's not driving.
Right.
So we ended up hitting Uber, went to a Schwabenon Bowl to the east side of Mason. I paid for it. It was like $45. Well, we get in her driveway and walk to the front door, and she goes, I don't have my keys. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't have your keys? She goes, I literally don't have my keys. They're sitting in my car. She's like, you need to buy me an Uber to go back. I'm like, I ain't buying you shit. So she goes, and not me being mean or nothing, I just did not want to spend $100 on Uber to go back and get it. She goes, I need a rock. I'm like, what are you talking about, a rock? She goes, I need to get in my house. So here we go, and we walk around the house. She's thinking about which window to throw the rock through. We get to the backyard. She's like, oh, perfect, small window. And this is her place she rents. She grabs a rock, chucks it through the basement window, walks up, goes, like with her feet, start busting the basement window out. She goes, meet me in the front. Slipped in, frickin' feet first. I don't know how the hell she not get cut. Goes to the front door, opens it up. She's like, I got to tape this shut. So here I'm holding her, like she's not even touching the floor. I'm holding her up, taping this window together. Get growing, get going, whatever. Obviously, fun occurred, blah, blah, blah. Make story short. The best part is when I came home the next morning, I was still hammered. It was like 3:30. We were up till I got here at like 5:30. Roll in the door. Obviously, due to situations at life, I had to live with my parents. So come through the door, and my mom's a very loving mom. She likes to poke at it, but she kind of let us. She's a comedian to a point.
Right.
We'll just say it that way. So she knew it was a long time. It was just that time when you walk in the door and your tail's tucked and you went through hell and back. So, I came through just feeling like shit. I'm sorry. Walked through the door. All of a sudden she looks. She's got this biggest smirk on her face. She goes, so, how is she? I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, when am I meeting her? I'm like, Mom, this would be the type where I say, she is not the take-home-to-mom type.
What time of year was this?
This was March 2018.
So I was wondering because if it was really cold when she busted that window, and I didn't know if there was snow on the ground or what. But
to be 100% honest, I don't even remember. I remember.
Did you go to work? Did you go to work the next day?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
I slept in for an hour or two. Walked up, went into work at 9:30 with my head down, and where I worked at the time, they're phenomenal people. I had the best 2 office ladies out there. They were like, one was like a mom, one was like an older sister. All of a sudden, I walk in, they both look at each other, start busting out laughing. They're like, so, how was last night?
Yeah.
And they just start poking the bear. But that was the start of the stories here, dude. So the more I got into Tito's, the more I would do dumb, random stuff. So, one night, I was feeling really, really, really well and thought it would be a great idea to buy a big T-Rex suit for me being stupid. Ordered the suit from Target and ended up being, a month or so later, we had, as in term Stockbridge, which is a town on the east side of Lake Winnebago, they have a big parade. And this is me actually being sober. My brilliant drunk idea would be jump in this dinosaur suit in the middle of a parade where the whole city comes and start dancing on the trailer. Well, 9:30 rolls around that day. I zipped up the suit and started dancing around the whole thing. Well, made it through the whole thing, came to the end, and I wanted to be like that dead dinosaur scene where I would kick my feet up. Turn the corner, and all of a sudden I kick my feet up like the T-Rex tips over, and the whole zipper just busts. The whole thing deflates, and I hear my boss's wife going, stay laid down. So, obviously, I still had the suit. So, one of my buddies had a big fish fry. We would collaborate for the whole year. And he didn't know about the suit. So, I was getting hammered during the day. I actually tucked the suit in my car. At about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night when we were all rolling, he told me straight out, he was like, dude, I'm going to be on captain this day. I apologize everything ahead of time. He goes, and I'm going to apologize the next morning. So he's like, just let me go. I'm like, cool. Handcuffs off. All of a sudden, I come rolling at like 9:30. His girlfriend knew it. He didn't know. I turn around the corner. He has his dogs loose. Here I come ripping around the corner with the T-Rex suit on. And his dogs start chasing me. And I would just go in the middle of next to a fire, just freaking hammered, just start dancing and rolling and just like using this T-Rex as like a prop in like a movie. And you have to see it in person to kind of laugh. And this is the same suit that's on YouTube where people are doing skiing and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
You just look at the suit, dude, and you bust out laughing.
It's hilarious. They're just great. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me, and we're going to get, swing it back to the drinking side of it. I think for me, the drinking side of it is, and everyone's got their little patterns and kind of why they do it. To me at the time, it's like, I'm not a split personality. I have high level ADHD, which means I'm hyperactive. And there's days I'm on, and then there's days I'm off, like
right.
Bad. So it swings back and forth, erratic at times. When I start drinking, it's like that green light just turns on, and it's like a sense of freedom comes in, sort of like the shield drops, and all your problems disappear, and you can just be Robin Williams, 100 miles an hour wide open. So, like, I would have a pattern of doing these drunk random Snapchats, or like here I'm in my bathroom here, acting like the MyPillow guy, trying to sell everyone on Snapchat a brand new toilet seat. Just
right.
Random stupid stuff. Be like, hey, check this out, brand new toilet seat. Call in. Be like, call in now. You get free brand new top 2 toilet seats, whatever it is. So it would be like a sense of just like stand-up comedy of just being relieved and not, the old saying, like, no shit's given, zero whatever. Like, I didn't even care what happened. And then the next morning I would get the repercussions and be like, hey, dude, you shouldn't have done that.
Exactly,
or, hey,
right.
You got to do that. And it's like a sense of freedom where it's like I would escape my problems coming from my, the reason why I moved back home, early childhood life, early childhood stuff that kind of balled up in one.
Right.
And what would happen is like your demon, I'm going to use the term demons, but like everyone's got demons, good or bad.
Yep.
It would just ball up and ball up and ball up and ball up. And it was to the point where it came to I was going to say October-ish. There was like a wall where I hit where, I ended up like doing something stupid, pissing off half of my family. And then that actually caused the random stop. It's like the pressure, the balls just get so big and all of a sudden that balloon just pops.
Right.
And it don't matter what you're going to do. You can build up, you can keep going, you can run hard, and all of a sudden that wall hits. And my wall hit, I think the weekend before Halloween. Obviously, you buy a bottle of booze, you're going to finish it. So just like you, Halloween came, I ended up slowing down, finishing the bottle of tequilas I had. Obviously, I think me and you are like 30 days apart or something. Hit November with Wisconsin, you have deer hunt season. So I got very blessed with that week of shooting 2 deer. So to people that knew that I was drying up, they're like, hey, just have 2 Busch Light and have 2 shots. I ended that first 25 days with my I Am Sober app. So anybody that's trying to clean up, go download I Am Sober app. So I had to reset my clock and, restart it over. So to us, that was more of like a celebrational drink versus completely stopping and going cold turkey. So I just looked. I'm 115 days clean. I'm enjoying every second of it. People ask if I'm going to do it again. I don't know. All I know, the thing that I learned with this cleaning up is you go day by day. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You wake up, you thank the Lord you're alive, thanks for the blessing, and you keep moving throughout the day, and whatever random things occur. You can't be thinking too far ahead because you're going to get depressed. I mean, obviously, yeah, you have goals to hit, just like everybody, you short-term, long-term, whatever. But the more you start rolling or the more you start thinking back, especially on my case, the more either A, I'm getting mad that I have buddies that are going way more ahead on the negative side of it, or B, the past creeps up where it says, hey, dude, you're not good enough, you're not this. So it's like, people like me with my strong faith would say, hey, it's the devil talking versus, good Lord, whatever. I'm not going to go too far into religion here, but the dark side would start creeping in and saying, hey, this is the reason why you're doing it, go grab a drink. So there was 2 times in my journey here that I would go to a party and think that I could get away with having an NA beer, and they would give me the menu, and all of a sudden, and I didn't catch it till like the second go around, it's like my mouth would salivate. It's like you just start like foaming at the mouth because you want that beer.
Yep.
And your body just starts like tripping. And I had enough strong to kind of push it away. And the first time, went to the Gambler game, which is phenomenal. Went to Metal Night, and ended up being, it was $2 beers. Ended up being, everyone around me had Bud Light, and 2-3 rows ahead of me, I could literally smell them to a T. 3-4 couple of rows ahead of me. And what ended up happening is my brain kicked in like I was drinking, and I would taste the Bud Light in my mouth. And it sounds like people with addictions could say, hey, dude, I could taste a cigarette right now. I could smell, a tin of chew 20 feet away. You can literally smell it. You can literally taste it. And my brain went into, I want to slam through the floor right now.
Yep.
And what ended up happening is when I get real nervous, my sister and I have the same issues. We start ripping nails and whatever, just try to eliminate with it. So there's a few good friends that are in the venture group that did not show up last week. They're part of the Young Entrepreneurs. I ended up going to Snapchat. I took a picture of me just acting goofy with my eyes saying, hey, I want to drink so bad. I can smell it. And there's like 6-7 people say, hey, dude, don't, keep going. So there's like a handful of people from that group that kind of like reloaded the positive thinking, kind of shifted me and just tried to get me out of that gear to where I was good to go for the rest of the night. But it's like these urges aren't, hey, I'll be okay with one. People are like, hey, just have one. I don't even know, at the time, my sister can have 1 or 2 shut down. She's perfectly fine. And I'm going to go in depth a little bit on the family side of it here. So, obviously, my parents got divorced back in the day, long story short. My dad never knew his father, so we don't have much of a family history on that side. My stepdad came in, phenomenal guy, took me under his wing. I got very blessed at a young age to have someone that kind of raised me like his own son throughout the whole process of it. Drinking was around us from day one, so, Friday night fish, going out, all that stuff. So I was around that bar environment, every Friday night from little on up until, if I still want to go out, I could still go out. So, like, our whole process of that was that way. Ended up, each side's got their own pluses and minuses. My mom's side's very comedic. We're very socializing, dude, it's like 20 people with ADHD in a room. It's hilarious. We're tough to handle at times, not because we're mean. We are not mean. We have no mean bone in our body. We're just a bunch of comedians in a room just having a blast. But it ended up being, with that, issue with the family and getting that out, I started creeping back on the family histories. Obviously, my mom's the only daughter. So when it comes to that, a lot of I don't know what genes are passed from fathers, like father, daughter, son. But when it comes to the direct line to my grandfather, I'm the only one. Obviously, like my aunt and uncles and everyone branches out. They have it from the mom son thing, so they did it on my grandma's side. So when it comes to any genes that was on his side and genes on my grandma's side, any of that, you start digging deep, and there's heavy drinking involved past certain layers that nobody knew about it until you cleaned up or got near to the end where I would hit my rock bottom. And I'm gonna tell everyone straight up, it's just the environment we're in. It's not, here it's just you're bred, like Canada, you're bred for hockey. So I'm going to reiterate to people in Northeast Wisconsin, drinking is around you pretty much from day one, good or bad. Some people can handle it, some people cannot.
Yep.
I, at the time, became social, became an addiction, became sober. So when you start digging deep and deep and deep, you could, I have it coming from 3 different ways. So when I hit that rock bottom and cleaned myself up, all of a sudden now family members that were watching say, hey, dude, congrats. I didn't know, looking back, either A, problems, or B, hyperetics, whatever it is, how much alcohol or drinking, socialized drinking, on the positive side of it or negative side of it, would go, layers back. So I became very aware of my surroundings and very aware. I love my whole family to death, and I can't change my past. I can't change my future. They supported me through everything I've done, so that nothing but love from everybody. But when you start doing that, you almost become an outcast or outlier of the family, or socialize or whatever. So I don't know about you, but I know this journey, it becomes a little quieter, good or bad, but it's different. And the thing with different is it's like being different in high school. It's kind of a gray area. Yep. Where, people don't get it, or people do get it.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I think a really cool thing, and I know we kind of talked about on Saturday, I get a lot of friends and family and just ask, my immediate family gets it, my parents and sister and stuff. But, everybody always asks, so you're never going to drink again? And I said, I can't tell you that today. I don't know what's going to be down 2 months down the road. I'm just like you. I'm taking one day by day. If I know I don't drink today, I'm not going to get drunk today. And that's all that we can do on our path or our success. And when people ask, do you miss it? Well, of course I miss it. Of course I miss, the camaraderie with your buddies and the drinking. But I don't miss the anxiety, the hangovers, the crap we did at night where we don't remember. I don't miss that at all. And I feel too good, just like you right now, that it's not worth it. The positives outweigh the negatives, and I'm glad that you brought that up too. But we can only take this day by day, because looking 5 years from now, that's too much. That's too much for us to handle with this. So wrapping it up, we're gonna have you on again, Chad. Why don't you tell your social media if you want people to follow you, and kind of the project you're going to be working on.
All right, so any of you guys want to follow my craziness, that's the best way of explaining my life. My Instagram is THE, Chad M, like Michael, Smith. So pretty simple, pretty plain. I got a normal name. So the Chad M. Smith at Instagram. And then there's going to be some cool projects coming here in April. Everyone in my past that was near me that seen all my craziness said, hey, dude, put it on video, put it on audio, put it in a podcast, do stand-up comedian, whatever it is. So I developed a nice little podcast that's going to be coming out here. I'm going to estimate early April. We're in the final touches of it, just getting some last details of it. But the title of it is going to be C's Get Degrees, like C, the grade. So C's Get Degrees. It's going from average to extraordinary. So it's pretty much going to be taking my in-depth personal stories, wrapping around my comedic upbringing, merging in my music, and how, especially with mine and people that went through struggles, how do I evolve my whole life with my comedy, the stories, the music, and how do I turn that, good battle of positive, negative in my head, mental health is what I'm going to call it. How do I turn that mental health from a victim to a blessing for people? So to me, my goal is to just help one person at a time. People say, hey, dude, you're going to help more than you think. Just focus on that one person. So if anyone in this story, journey, whatever, that needs help, reach out to me on Instagram. I will definitely give you my advice on it. It's just one person at a time. So if I can help someone not grab that bottle for right now, that is my ultimate goal of it. I'm going to have fun on the podcast. I don't know who I'm going to be talking to next. I might have a podcast on, having my sister direct through hurricanes. We might have some fun. So the big one is I'm going to do 12 of them. They're going to start dropping here probably in April, May, one each month, kind of do basic. And then, like I said, it's going to be a allotment of three things. It's going to be comedy, it's going to be mental health, self-development-ish, and then we're going to have some music. So take my passion for metal, for rock, and all that, and see how far I can dig into it and see where I use music/entertainment to develop my personality.
Yeah, I cannot wait, and hopefully I can come on your podcast at some time too. I can run through some of my wildness stories as well. So, wrapping it up, I really appreciate you coming on, and I think that, making this great connection. We didn't know each other until Saturday, and now look, we got a pretty good connection and friendship going. So, really appreciate you coming on. If there's anything else that you have for our listeners, otherwise we'll let you go for the rest of the day.
Yeah, there's one thing here for the listeners, especially if you guys are in the Valley, definitely reach out. Go on Facebook, Instagram, and check out The Venture Project. Definitely a lot of like-minded people that are willing to, right now, focus on Oshkosh, but change Oshkosh, bring local economic development, fun, anything, make downtown sparkling and entertaining. So if you guys have any free time, go visit The Venture Project. And we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, buddy. We appreciate and like I said, the Venture Project, we're rolling pretty good here throughout the Valley. So, Chad, we will talk to you soon, and we'll definitely plan another episode.
All right, no problem, guys. You have fun.
All right, see you, bud.
Yeah, bye.